quilting series where we are making our lovely quilted memories in conjunction with the Irish Country Living magazine. Today we're going to look at our applique block, this lovely little block here with our flowers and leaves on it. The method I'm going to show you today is quite simple and very quick, so we'll just get stuck in straight away. To do our applique block, we need our background fabric, and we also need some scraps of fabric for the applique shapes, and our border fabric, which I have cut down to size already, and all these measurements will be in the magazine. We also need our pattern, which is in the magazine, and we need something called fusible webbing. The fusible webbing I'm using today is called Heat and Bond, and you can see here that it is shiny on one side, which is the sticky side, and there's a paper side on the other side, which is lovely and smooth. So we're going to trace the pattern for our flower shapes onto the fusible webbing. But the first thing we need to do is take our background fabric and just give it a quick iron, fold over in half, just press it, and fold in half again the second way, the next way, press it again, and this will give us a guide. You can see there's a cross here in the center, and I'm going to use that guide, and I'm going to mark out my background fabric 7 inches by 13 inches. And the next thing we need to do then is to trace our shapes onto our fusible webbing. So just lay down your shape, which we'll find in the magazine, and lay your fusible webbing, Heat and Bond, on top of that, and get your pencil and just draw around your shape. So I'm going to do that now. I have a pencil here, and literally draw all around the outside of your shapes. If you have a look at the applique block behind me again, you'll see there are 3 flowers, and I think maybe about 5 or 6 little leaf shapes. Just remember, when you're tracing your fabric or your shapes onto your Heat and Bond or your fusible webbing, leave about ½ an inch between each shape, because you're going to cut it out later. You want at least quite a distance between each shape. I'm going to cut that out of the webbing now, roughly cut around it about ½ inch. So don't have to be too fussy at this stage. That's my flower. This is the inside of my flower, and I'll just cut out my leaf as well. So as I say, don't be too particular. That's our 3 shapes traced off and cut out. And now we need the fabric that we're going to use for our flower shapes. So I have lovely blue here. I'm going to use that as the top of the flower. So lay your fabric right side down, and take your shape and lay it shiny side down on top of the fabric and press it. So I'm just going to bring it over to the ironing board and press it here. So shouldn't take too much pressing. All of these, if you're going out to buy your fusible webbing, all of them will come with manufacturer's instructions, so just follow the instructions. That's one piece. I'll just do the other 2 pieces. I have some pink, and again, lay your fabric right side down, lay your shape with the sticky side down, just press it, and at this stage then we're going to cut that out on the tracing line. So I'll go ahead and do that. So just cut around your flower, the tracing line. Okay. This is a nice easy shape to work with because it's lovely and big, and there aren't too many points or corners. And we'll just trace out the inside of the flower, or cut out the inside of the flower. It's a lovely, quick and easy method of applique. There's lots of different methods out there to choose from. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the paper backing from my shapes. So you can, it should peel away quite easily. Wait, we have a look and see. Yeah, there we are. So take away the paper backing and straight away you can see how shiny it is on the back of the fabric, and that's the glue, that's the sticky side, which has already been stuck to here, and now we're going to lay that down on our background fabric and it'll stick. So just leave it there for the moment. And again, I'm going to take the back off the other part of my flower. I'm going to take away the paper backing, and that will leave again lovely sticky side on the second part of my flower. So I have my background fabric here, but I have 2 flowers stuck down already. I'm just going to stick down the third one. So lay them within that area that you marked out. Don't have to be too particular. Follow the diagram in the magazine if you wish. I think that would be just about right there. And then I'm going to press that. Bring it over to the ironing board. Leave away. And just might have been too near the edge there. I think that probably looks a lot better. And literally just press it down. Applique is just attaching one piece of fabric down on top of another. So there we have our applique shape pressed down onto our background fabric. At this stage we need to secure it to the background fabric. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. I have used a buttonhole stitch, embroidered a buttonhole stitch, or a blanket stitch rather, the same thing, all around the edge of my flower. You can use zigzag on your sewing machine if you wish, or just a straight stitch on your sewing machine. But really I think it does need something to keep it down onto the background fabric. So I have some embroidery thread here. I'm going to embroider the blanket stitch around the edge. So I'm just going to take a few stitches so you can see what I'm talking about. So come up from the back of your fabric on the outside of your shape, and then just take a little stitch back into your flower, keeping your working thread under your needle, and literally just work your way all around the flower like this. As I say, it's a purely personal choice how you secure your applique to the background. You can do it on your machine or do it by hand. I like to do it by hand because this is something that you can do without taking out the machine. Once you have your shapes ironed down, you know, you can leave it to one side, come back later and just pick it up and do the handwork on it. But and then, you know, you can choose some nice coloured embroidery threads to go with the colours of your applique shapes. As I say, it's entirely up to yourself. You know, whatever you think you would like to do with it. I have some little leaf shapes here as well. They've already been cut out. I haven't pressed them down, but you can put your leaf shapes, just lay them around your flowers, whatever way you think would be most pleasing. And that should finish that part of your block. Wait until you've finished all the work on your applique, whether you're sewing it down on the machine or working on it by hand. And then at that stage we will cut it down. So I'm going to do that now straight away. I'll just remove my needle. I'm going to clip this away here. I don't want it to get caught in my rotary cutter. We have that done, so I'm just going to move this to one side. And I'm going to get my mat, my rotary cutter and my ruler, and I'm going to cut down my background fabric. This is going to be cut down to 7.5 by 13.5. Again, all these measurements are in the magazine. So that's our background fabric cut down to the correct size. And at this stage I'm going to add on my borders. So I'm going to add on my 2 side borders first. I have these cut already. Again, these measurements are in the magazine. So let's go ahead and do that. Here we are. I just sew these down. So we're attaching the border to our applique block. Lay it down and taking 1/4 inch seam as always. We have added our two side borders first and then our top and bottom, and we have our lovely flowers in the centre. And I didn't get a chance to put the leaves on today, but you'll be able to put the leaves on yourself. And that is the last block in the top of our quilt. Next week we're going to talk about assembling our quilt top, piecing our blocks together. If you just want to have maybe a quick look at the quilt here behind me on the wall, you can see our first row is made up of our churn dash and our applique block, which would be these two blocks here. So literally you just take and press all your blocks and press all your seams on the back, and then press them from the front. So you want them lovely and neat and tidy and pressed, and literally lay one block on top of the other, and match your edges. You can pin it if you wish, stick maybe 2 pins in it, and if you're matching your seams, it's a good idea to stick your pin between the two seams, so you're matching one seam on the top with the seam at the back. Sticking the pin in helps to keep them together. I'm just going to stick my 2 pins in here and literally put it onto the machine and take your 1/4 inch seam. I'll go ahead and do that. As I say, next week we'll be talking about piecing our whole quilt and adding our borders, but just to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing next week, I'll go ahead and piece my top row. We're nearly there, almost finished the top of our quilt. So you can see, if I just open that out, that would be the top row of our quilt. So we'll see you next week when we piece our whole quilt together.